Good morning, everyone. How are you? Where were you yesterday? I missed you all. It's lovely to be back on this wonderful Monday morning just to tell you the program for the week. Let me just see who's here. Firstly, good morning to Carol, Peter, Rachel, Mervyn. You're looking fantastic, Mervyn. Estelle and Martin, lovely to see you, Martin. Estelle, lovely to see everyone. Okay, the program is, so we are clear because for some reason we're not all on the same page. Okay, so I am here today, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then next week, Sunday, I will not be on. Monday, I will not be on, I don't think. Tuesday, we should be back to normal, I think. Hold on, am I there Tuesday? No, I think it's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, I will not be on. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday next week, I will not be on. I'm going to be away. Thank God, we've got a lovely wedding up north. And good morning, Andy, Avram, Ben Vega, Sarah. Lovely to see you. Looking so well. Smiley as always. Okay, even under the mask. Okay, let me share with you a brief idea. And then we can move forwards. Can somebody please do me one favor? I've really had enough of this weather. Okay, it's doing my head in. You know, it's like this country cannot make up its mind about anything, right? It's Boris weather, right? Look, we're not quite sure. Is it sunny? Is it rainy? Is it going to be cloudy? Whatever. Anyways. So let me share with you an idea from this week's Torah portion. Ekev. Ekev, which means hill. Okay. So not Achilles hill, but the hill nonetheless. Whose name was Hill? Anyone know? Yaakov. Jacob was Hill, right? And Yisrael, on the other hand, refers to his head. But let's leave that to one side. There's a commandment in this week's Torah portion. Sorry, let me just read it correctly. God tells us, you know what I want from you, Jewish people? I want you to love a convert, a stranger. In other words, somebody converts to Judaism. We're meant to love them, right? Why do we have to love them? Because you were strangers in Egypt. You can relate to what they have gone through. And we know that the word for love in Hebrew is, Andy? Exactly, ahava. And the word for one in Hebrew is echad. And they have the same numerical value, okay? So because love is the product of the unity between individuals, it's a recognition of a commonality and an affinity, okay? And therefore we are commanded to love our neighbors, to love God, because we have that commonality. When it comes to a convert, it's much more difficult, isn't it? Because they don't have the same upbringing as us, right? They don't necessarily eat gefilte fish, although I have to tell you, I'm learning with a convert. Some of you may know him, and he's Polish, from Lublin, lovely, lovely man. And in fact, he likes gefilte fish. He likes gefilte fish. But usually we find, maybe we should also dedicate this morning's learning. I don't have the list in front of me, but we'll also dedicate it in memory of Jackie Mason. Can we do that, Martin? Are you okay with that, everyone? Somebody who brought so much laughter, so much happiness to so many people's lives. Now I know that there'll be some people on this share which are going to say to me, he was a bit rude, a bit close to the mark. We didn't like, it wasn't our flavor. Listen, as Jackie Mason would say, listen, we're Jews, we have to disagree. I didn't like him, the way he stood, the way he walked. You have to love Jackie Mason. You have to love Jackie Mason. Anyways, he was a rabbi, so you got to love him, right? Don't you have to love Jackie Mason? He was a rabbi. You're meant to say at this point, yes, of course we love Jackie Mason because he was a rabbi. His father was a rabbi. His brothers were a rabbi. In fact, I have it on one of the groups, or the WhatsApp rabbis groups, 150 rabbis, that they put on there the book, the Sefer that his father produced. It was quite a scholarly works. So he came from great yichus. And in fact, I know we're digressing tremendously, but the story goes of the way he became a rabbi. is that he started to introduce humor in jokes into his sermons. Now, why would someone do that? Anyways, he introduced more and more jokes, and the story goes that eventually he realized there were more jokes than there was Torah content. And he says, listen, they enjoy the jokes more than they enjoy the Torah. And he decided that he was going to give up on being a rabbi, despite the great, the great benefits of being a rabbi, the huge six-figure salary and everything else. He decided he was going to become a comedian, and he roughed it. It was hard at the beginning, but he was exceptionally successful, amazing, sometimes a bit close to the edge, but he was a phenomenal comedian, made many people laugh, many people cry. And our family in particular were big fans of Jackie Mason. And anyways, so he used to, it was observational humor, wasn't it? Isn't that part of what Judaism's all about, that we are able to laugh at ourselves? Isn't that what life's about? Isn't Jackie Mason, he was really just speaking about what Judaism says, which is that we sometimes have to look at, we have to look at ourselves and not take ourselves too seriously, right? That's what he did. He held a mirror up and said, listen, guys, take it all with a pinch of salt. In fact, a wise man once said that if you, we are really digressing, aren't we? He said, if you take God seriously, then you don't have to take people and life so seriously. In other words, what makes us get so upset? Why did I get so upset when my something didn't work in my car today, or when I get a scratch on my car, right? Why do I get so upset? Because I'm taking that thing really seriously. But if we take God seriously, in other words, that there's more, there's a life beyond this life. That's true life, right? And we know we're just passing through here. Then all the stuff, the headaches, the hassles that we all get caught up on, right? What people say to us, what people do to us, and so on and so forth. We won't let it get us down. We won't let people get to us. And you know why? Because we recognize that it's insignificant in terms of the big picture, right? It's just one of those things, right? Why is this not working? Okay. So that's the message, I think, of Jackie Mason. Okay. His message was that, laugh at yourselves. And I think it's very healthy for us as a community. People get so worked up, get so upset, about all types of things. I didn't get an email. I had it yesterday. How could you go ahead and do something without informing me? I said, well, listen, if I would have informed you, would you have agreed to it? Yes, of course not. But it doesn't matter. It's the principle. It's the principle, right? It's always the principle. So, in other words, we should have the correct perspective to life. Take be a bit more relaxed about everything, and think about what's really important in life. And then we won't spend so much time getting gray hairs and gray in our beards and worrying about the wrong things. Okay, so let me go back and now try and return. Thank you to that lovely digression about Jackie Mason and about humor and about life. But they say in the Gemara, just to finish off, and I could keep speaking about humor forever, humor is so important in life. But that the Gemara tells us, the Talmud tells us, that there were two comedians, and they were given a special place in the next world, right? Because if you bring humor to life, and therefore you enable people to see the funny side of life and not to get caught up in the minutiae, then you're actually giving people the correct perspective. So it's not a matter of distraction with humor. What we are saying is that it makes you laugh at yourself, to laugh at what you take so seriously, and then you realize it's not worth it. Life is far too short. We had one of those days yesterday, a family get together, parents' golden wedding anniversary, and there was a video that was shown, and it was like literally a snapshot of family life, from the cradle all the way through, from birth, and you see the pictures of you and your kids growing up. I haven't, I live life like all of you at breakneck speed, and don't have much time, or don't spend enough time to ever reflect. And this was like very rare for me to actually look at photos, and to look at, photos of those that aren't here. which obviously is exceptionally emotional when you look around and you say, hold on, that person's not here. My grandparents, my uncles, this one, this one, this one. So many of those in our photos are not there anymore. But it also gives us perspective as to life, what's really important. Is it so important what we fight over? Evidently not. Let's now learn something very briefly. I apologize. I hope you don't mind me digressing and sharing with you, but you are my nearest. Sarah, lovely to see you. You are my nearest and dearest, and it's so we've been on a journey together for 18 months. If you want to know what keeps me sane, it's what's in this cup, freshly ground coffee, and you guys. I think that's pretty much it. Of course, my family, my kids, my faith, but you guys keep me going. So there is an interesting idea that when the Torah was given on Sinai, God offered it to all the nations of the world, didn't he? Okay. Now, when he offered it to all the nations of the world, what happened? He offered it to the Edom, to the, eventually the descendants would be the Romans, to this nation, to that nation, Ishmael, or every nation. And each nation said no. Or did they? God had to offer it to all the nations, otherwise it wouldn't be fair. You can't just automatically assume, that only the Jewish people are worthy. He offered it to everyone. But what happened was the vast majority of every nation said no. Okay, Mr. Bonks is saying no. So they said no, but because there was one particular command that bothered them. We can't go through the whole thing now. But in the case of the minority, they did want it. A small minority of every nation wanted it. Now, what happened to them? Is it fair that they should miss out? And the answer is that they were the righteous converts, those core souls that would merit to become part of the Jewish people. Those divine sparks that missed out at the time of the giving of the Torah, they eventually would become a part of our nation over the course of the millennia. They would join us. Therefore, it's fascinating that when we see Gerim converts, right? I hold them in such high esteem, such admiration for them. They are as worthy as we are. If they're genuine, sincere converts, then those are the lost sparks, the lost souls of our nation that would have been, that missed out at the time of Sinai, and therefore they became a part. And in fact, there is in Jewish thought, if we want to become mystical, that even those sparks, they were there at Sinai, and then we had to rediscover them later on. So that's one of the reasons why, friends, we are scattered around the world. You ever wondered, why truly we are scattered over the four corners of the earth? And the idea says in the Tziv, we mentioned it before, is that there are divine sparks. There are souls, lost souls across the world, and we are meant to gather them up to, like a magnet, right? If you put a magnet in a certain place, it attracts likeness. So therefore, we're meant to be attracting those lost souls so that all the core divine sparks come back together. Sorry, good morning, Richard. Thank you for joining us. Carol, lovely to see you. Okay, looking well. So therefore, with that in mind, there could be a tendency for some of us to come along, and we would say, what would we say? We'd say when a convert comes, we'd say, look down our glasses, our noses, and say to them, you're not part of us. You're not worthy. We were the ones that were born Jewish. You who are coming in are always the outsider, the stranger. And God says to us, remember what it was like. You were in Egypt, right? You know what it was like to be worthy and yet to be treated as an outsider. And if we've experienced that the quasi-Gerim experience ourselves in Egypt, that's what we experienced, right? So therefore, we can relate to what they're going through. And when you are able to understand what they're going through, then hopefully we are able to make their journey that little bit easier. And that's the way we should do it, right? So often people are cynical and circumspect about people's motives, about what they are. That's not for us. It's not for us to question any Jew's motives, and a convert when they come along, if they're based in, we have to presume that people are telling the truth and they are sincere. So when they approach, and I have met and been humbled by those that I've met, I'm actually learning with 2 potential Gerim at the moment, and each one of them, I have to tell you, I am in total awe. They are pushing me to the limit. Okay, different to the way my kids push me to the limit. But they are wonderful, wonderful people who have made such tremendous self-sacrifices. Do you know what it's like to, the tensions, the difficulties with family that you leave behind, especially in certain cases, their families are devout Catholics, right? One of the most famous Gerim and martyrs was Avraham ben Avraham. He lived at the time of the Vilna Gaon, that's the 18th century, and they wouldn't allow him at that time. If you converted to Judaism, you risked being killed and executed at the stake, right? Burned at the stake. And he was warned time and again not to convert, and yet he did, and he was steadfast in his faith, and he eventually died at the stake. And afterwards, I believe it was the Vilna Gaon, I think he wanted to be buried near him, but he certainly says that he was one of the most righteous members of our people who showed such commitment and total self-sacrifice. So therefore, we are meant to look at others and see them as, when we see people coming from different ways of life into our fold, and they are sincere, assuming that they are sincere, genuine, then we have to embrace them wholeheartedly. And that's not just about Gerim, that's about anyone who's different to ourselves, right? I keep saying it, I bang on about it, and I know you're sick of hearing about it, Martin, Estelle, and Mervyn. But the point is, one of the problems I have is that we live in quite a homogenous community, right? We don't even have, we have a handful of Sephardim in our community. So basically everyone is from the same type, the same stripes, and it means that we're not used to mixing with different types of Jews. There are Russian Jews, Ethiopian Jews, Sephardi Jews from Morocco, Mexico, right? There are different types of Ashkenazi Jews. There's Hasidic Jews. We don't mix, right? And it's great that we're like-minded and we're all able to be on the same page and of similar backgrounds. All probably came from Poland and, remember the Haim and everything else. It's great. It makes it much easier to get along, right? But we miss out on this idea of recognizing the differences that we have, and yet with the similarities that we have as being Jews. Shared past, present, and please God, future. The destiny that we have, the journey that we're treading together. And that, friends, in short, as we conclude, is my message to you. The Torah challenges us, and we have to challenge ourselves, it's in this week's Torah portion, that you have to love a stranger, right? Give him food and clothing, look after him. And you know why? Because we were strangers once, right? We know what it's like as the Jewish people to be strangers. We have been strangers in every single culture, in every single country. And we know what it's like to be strangers because, friends, each and every one of you felt you were strangers just a few weeks ago during the conflict. Don't forget. Remember what it was like, Martin. Remember what it was like, Carol. We felt that the world, everyone was closing in on us. There were protests. There was a whole, what was it? There was a march through London, protests, and there was a protest with cars coming from Bradford through London, shouting abuse and threatening us up and down the country. We know what it's like to be different, to be a stranger. And we embrace those differences. We're proud of who we are. There's no point in hiding it because others will find it out in any case, right? We've said time and again, non-Jews respect those that respect themselves. When they see that we Jews respect ourselves, they respect us. But if they see that our Judaism and being Jewish means nothing, we can't expect them to think more of our Judaism than we do. So therefore, we have to respect. We have to look at differences and different types of people and converts, and we have to say, we embrace you. We love you. And you know what makes it easier? Because we can relate to what you're going through. And in that way, please God, we will be able to welcome the stranger, strangers, not just those that convert, but those that turn up in our community. I remember when we brought the traveling Hasidim, it was like they'd come from aliens from Mars. It was a group of Hasidim with their rebbetzin, with their wives, and we brought them to share with the community. You may recall the idea of Hasidism, and they sang and they danced. For some people, it was wonderful. It lifted their spirits. They soared higher and higher. And for others, it was something like out of Shtisel. But the funny thing is, Shtisel, what's interesting about Shtisel, think about that. Fiddler on the Roof or Shtisel, right? We love Shtisel as long as it's on the screen. But don't bring it into my backyard. I don't want them living next to me or coming to my community or sitting next to me with a different dress and their different customs, right? So therefore, it's very important. It's very important for us to be able to embrace difference. Okay, please God, we should be able to do so, and therefore make every single Jew in particular welcome and part of our community and of our people. Amen. We'll conclude with the Refuah Shlema prayer. And Remisha Be'achav Sein Rabbi Yisrael Yaakov Moshe and David Shlomo Yivarech Rapes Achelim Babu Shanu Mispalim Bavuram Beis Chazak HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yimali Rachem Aleichem Lachem Al Fasam Vishlach Lem Refuah Shlema Nishmaim L'chol Avim B'tzosh Shach Yisrael Refuah Sanefesh Refuah Sakuf Hashtag Akizmak Rib and the Mar. Amen. Thank you for sharing, everyone. Martin, thank you for sharing with us that nugget. We wish everyone well, and please God, we'll be back tomorrow morning, bright and early, 9 o'clock. Don't be late, because we won't wait, as they say on EasyJet. All the very best. Have a great week.